That's the last bill I'll sign as governor of Minnesota, and what a great one to end on. And there's so many people who deserve our thanks, many of whom are standing here, and all of you for being here. Look at it, we're packed up to the rafters. But it underscores how important this bill is, and what a really phenomenal accomplishment it is that got it through the legislature with unanimous votes on both House and Senate side. That by itself is pretty monumental. And I can't tell you how many retirees and active employees have spoken with me in the last few days and told me how vitally important this is, and for their peace of mind, for their financial security, for their sense of being able to rely on a pension that we were promised that they earned. You know, some people say we should make public pensions more like the private pensions. I think we should make the private pensions more like the public pensions. Thanks to this legislation, over 500,000 Minnesotans will know that they're going to have a pension today, they're going to have a pension tomorrow, they're going to have a pension next year. They know what they're going to receive. We've made it solvent. You look at what's happening in the private sector going to the federal you gave me this before, Myron. What is it? Pension.
Public benefit guarantee fund.
Yeah, public. Whatever it is. Whatever it is, it's overwhelmed with private pensions that have been abandoned by companies, including ones that are still operating. And that won't happen here. Everybody who's earned those pensions are retired now, and knows that they can rely on, and that's the way it should be. You and all of the other 500,000 Minnesotans have worked hard. You've served your state remarkably well. For very little recognition or credit, but I'm proud to be a public employee. I'm proud of what we all together done for the state of Minnesota, and I'm just very, very happy we can provide this security for all of you and everyone else throughout our state. It wouldn't have happened without just heroic efforts by the two legislative chairs, Senator Julie Rosen and Representative Tim O'Driscoll, who are both here. And also my fabulous commissioner of MMB, Myron France, who's worked long and hard. And of course, the representatives of the beneficiary group, all of whom will be speaking and representing those funds. You know, this was a Herculean effort by everybody pulling together, really going into the deep details of what needed to be done, making concessions, giving up things that they thought were important for the sake of an agreement that everybody could support, and that then warranted the legislature's support. My hero in the midst of all this, I have to say, is Senator Julie Rosen, who's going to follow me here. She has been just remarkable all the way through. Representative O'Driscoll, too, he had a little bit of a tougher caucus to deal with.
I brought you everybody, Governor.
Senator Rosen's effort was really just heroic, and she and Myron worked so close together with all the other pension groups. But I can't commend you enough, Senator Rosen. You're absolutely a reason that we're all here today. So, Senator Rosen.
Well, how do you follow that? I mean, thank you so much, Governor. I really do appreciate that. And this is truly an historic day. A bill of this magnitude doesn't come along very often, and it is going to change not only the the pensions and security for our pensioners ongoing, but our financial stability in this state, and that's what's more important. So I just want to say to all the other states, you should stand up and watch what happened in Minnesota. And it couldn't have happened without all these people behind us and all these people, and like the governor said, the 500,000 of pensioners in this state, the hardworking Minnesotans. So we honored our commitment. I'm very proud of that. We do have a commitment to you. I just hope this story, this day, this bill doesn't get lost in the news cycle, because there is so much collaboration that went on, especially with these people behind us. And if I start naming a few people, I'm going to lose, somebody, and they're going to be mad. But of course, I first want to thank the governor, and he was spot on all of this. Thank you so much, Governor. He kept his eye on the ball, and I appreciate that so much. Along with Commissioner France and his blue ribbon panel, that's where it started. And I do want to do a shout out to the pension directors, the executive directors, Susan Lachesky and Rachel Barth, and the Pension Commission. I can't tell you what a great commission we have. They jumped in, rolled their sleeves up, and we made some great reform that is absolutely historic. And I just also want to say that don't forget the collaboration here. Sometimes in this building, we just want to focus on the negatives and how different we are, but this was such a collaborative issue and so very important for the state. We took $3.4 billion off the bottom line on unfunded liabilities. That's huge. And another $2.7 billion in future. So I can't begin to tell you Commissioner France, we made your job easier this fall. Going to the bond houses for sure. And again, we honored our commitment. This is historic, so let's enjoy the day. Thank you. And I will turn it over to Representative O'Driscoll.
Before I get started, I'd like to thank Senator Pappas. She and I actually kind of started. Senator Pappas and I started this process 3 years ago. The last pension bill that the governor signed was in 2015, and I was the chair of the Pension Commission, and Senator Pappas was the vice chair. And for various reasons, we were not able to get the formula right to be able to get it signed. I think we do have the formula right when we have all the stakeholder groups and every member who is present in the legislature, in the House and the Senate. Every member in the House and every member in the Senate on a huge and monumental bill. And I want to underscore a couple of things that Senator Rosen said, because they're extremely important for Minnesota. Last September, when Byron France went out to New York to visit with the rating agencies, S&P, one of the largest rating agencies on credit in the country, said to Minnesota in the narrative, you need to get on top of your pensions issue. It's time, Minnesota, that you get on top of that. About 4 weeks ago, Moody's, another major rating agency in the state of for Minnesota and across the nation, said, Minnesota, you got to get your unfunded liabilities in order. And as Senator Rosen said just a few moments ago, when Governor signed that bill, we took over $3.5 billion of liabilities of unfunded pensions. What does that mean to us? It means that in the state of Minnesota, when we want to go and borrow money, we'll be able to borrow money at a more competitive rate. It also means that counties, cities, school districts, and other political subdivisions in the state of Minnesota will also be able to borrow at a more favorable rate than they would have moments ago before the governor signed this very important piece of legislation. In closing, we've done an awful lot of bipartisan work this session, getting it to the governor's desk. One that is a huge cornerstone is the 2018 Pension Reform and Stabilization Bill. When you have all stakeholders, all legislators, all people on board, you know you've done something right. Thank you.
Well, good morning. My name is Myron Franz, Commissioner of Minnesota Management and Budget. As the Chief Financial Officer for the state, it doesn't get much better than this. So if I appear to be nervous, I'm just excited, okay? You can't make these kind of changes without having resources available. And for the last 8 years, Governor Dayton's brand of sound fiscal management with structurally balanced budgets has put us in a position to solve this problem. As Representative O'Driscoll mentioned, when we go to sell state bonds, and I'll do that this summer on behalf of the state of Minnesota, they're going to ask, every summer they've been asking, what have you done to solve your pension problem and the $16 billion of unfunded liability? Or they're going to ask me, have you solved it? I'm going to say, yes. I'll be nice about it, you know. I won't gloat, but I'll be nice about it. But as everyone mentioned, that's $3.4 billion off the bottom line today. And another hat that I wear is as a Chief Human Resource Officer for the state of Minnesota. And I want to say to all our public servants today, thank you for all of the hard work you do every day. Minnesota has a reputation of a state that works. And that means all of you, our state and local employees and our teachers, you all work every day to help make this state work. Thank you for all that you do. We had some help from a blue ribbon panel of experts, and what they did was they helped both the Pension Commission and the governor. They confirmed that we were on the right path, that shared sacrifice, where the employer, the employee, and the retiree all share together in making the system work, was the right thing to do, and also becoming more realistic about our investment assumptions. So I want to thank the Blue Ribbon panel for the work that they did. They volunteered their time, and they gave us the input that was really valuable for us getting across the line. I do want to mention my thank you to the 4 plans, Aaron Leonard of MSRS, Doug Anderson of PARA, Jay Stoffel of TRA, and Jill Schertz of St. Paul TRFA. And thanks also to my talented colleagues at Minnesota Management and Budget and the Pension Commission staff. All these people worked so hard on the nuts and bolts of this legislation, which under the direction of Julie Rosen, Senator, and Representative O'Driscoll, could not have gotten this done without all the legwork of all the people that went into this. But there's one person I want to mention as an example of someone who went the extra mile, and that's Luther Thompson of the Teachers Retirement Association. If you want motivation, just try to keep up with Luther Thompson. He's a great worker, and he's been with TRA for over 20 years, but I want to thank him for his dedicated service to the state of Minnesota. But in closing, I want to thank the governor for never giving up on pension reform. He had a lot of reason to give up, but he never gave up. He stood there with us. And I also want to thank Senator Rosen and Representative O'Driscoll and the entire Legislative Commission on Pensions and Retirement and their staff for helping make Minnesota a state that works even more. Thank you so much. And next we'll have Julie Bly from Ashley. Hi, Julie.
Hey, Julie.
I'm Julie Bly. I'm Legislative Director for AFSCME Council 5, but I'm here today representing over 25 public sector unions, retiree groups, and affiliated organizations that have come together in the Public Employee Pensions Coalition. Together, we represent more than 500,000 workers and retirees across the state of Minnesota. Today marks the culmination of many years of hard work. Through the signing of this bill, public workers are now assured of a secured and dignified retirement, which they've earned through their years of dedicated work in serving the public. We want to offer a giant thank you to everyone involved who made this great day happen. A thank you to the governor and his administration. A thank you to Julie Rosen and Representative O'Driscoll for shepherding the bill through the legislature. And a thank you to every member of the Legislative Commission and Pensions and Retirement, and a thank you to every member of the Minnesota Legislature who voted unanimously to pass this bill. The pension bill represents shared sacrifice by everyone, including the state, the employer, employees, and retirees. By working together and pulling together, we have ensured that public pensions will stay stable for decades to come. We have immediately saved the state $3.4 billion. We have ensured that our government fulfills its promise to public employees. It is towering achievement for workers, for retirees, for legislators, for the governor, and for all of this. And I have to say, this may be Governor Dayton's last signing of a legislative bill, but he saved the best for last. Thank you, Governor.
Well, good morning. It's a great day in Minnesota. It's great to see you all here. I'm Dave Matuzal, Executive Director of the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association. On behalf of law enforcement and fire services, retirees, active members, and those who will serve in the future, I want to thank Governor Dayton for his leadership and resolve to put our pensions on a positive trajectory towards full funding. I also want to thank the legislature for their hard work and support to make this bill a reality. In particular, I would like to acknowledge Chairs Julie Rosen and Tim O'Driscoll for leading this effort and doing a significant amount of the heavy lifting to make this bill make its way through the legislature. This morning, I'd like to address 4 reasons in particular why this bill is extremely important to our membership. First, it protects the benefits that were promised to our retirees and survivors. Many people don't realize that police and fire members do not participate in Social Security, and this is their sole form of retirement security when they retire. And next, for our active members currently serving the citizens of Minnesota, it guarantees that the benefits they were promised when they entered the profession will be there when they retire. Third, for those young people that choose to serve in law enforcement several years down the road, they'll become a member of a pension that is stronger than it is today and on a path to full funding. Finally, this bill is significant to our local units of government and, very importantly, Minnesota taxpayers. As these pension funds move toward erasing unfunded liabilities, the financial position of local units of government will become stronger, and ultimately our taxpayers will be protected from the financial shock endured by many states that failed to be proactive in addressing unfunded pension liabilities. In conclusion, I'd like to thank our pension directors, Doug, Aaron, Jill, and Jay Stoffel. By all accounts, each of them has done an incredible job in developing solutions with their respective boards of trustees, stakeholder groups, and the legislature. Thank you all for your time today.
All right. Good morning, Governor Dayton, and everyone invested in public pensions gathered here today. I am Lonnie Duberstein, President of the Retired Educators Association of Minnesota, and I am incredibly proud and humbled to represent thousands of Minnesota's wonderful public school employees. Thank you, Governor Dayton, for leadership in forming the Blue Ribbon Panel. Thank you for adding pension appropriation dollars to your budget proposal. Your dogged determination over the past many years, along with your continued support for public employees, made this day possible. Again, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Franz, for continually reminding us how critical the health of public pension systems are as the bond rating agencies seek to rate a state's perceived economic instability risk. You have been a stalwart supporter for strengthening our public pension systems. As public pension system executive directors, Jay Stoffel, Lori Hacking, Doug Anderson, Aaron Leonard, and Jill Schertz, you have worked tirelessly to see the pension bill pass. Being extremely competent, dedicated individuals, along with your highly adept boards and staffs, and I see many of them here today, you did the difficult work of putting together proposals. Your efforts to inform and continually seek input from your stakeholder groups solidified consensus, giving your proposals unprecedented validity and acceptance. I genuinely admire and collectively thank the organizers and the many members of the Public Employees Pension Coalition, PEPC. I believe that much of the unanimous voting was because of your efforts. Of course, the members of the Legislative Commission on Pensions and Retirement should be thanked and, as a teacher, given gold stars. Thank you, Senator Rosen and Representative O'Driscoll, for your leadership of that group and for authoring the bill. And thanks to all of the members of the LCPR for being the drivers and the cheerleaders for this very important legislation. Passage of this bill reaffirms the state's ongoing promise for public employees for a modest, secure, as we like to say, delayed compensation pension. That promise is increasingly important as a factor in affecting the recruitment and retention of public employees. And finally, for the positive social and economic benefits of this bill and the absolute genuine bipartisan cooperation greatly appreciated by the public, the Retired Educators Association of Minnesota, TRA, MSRS, PERA, and the St. Paul Teachers Fund want to send a huge thank you to everyone who played a part in this bill's passage.
Well, for those of you who don't make a daily habit of attending our press conferences, our practice is to open it up to questions from the press. We'll keep that abbreviated, and then they open it up to questions on everything else. And since all of you can gather around them, if you could do a little intimidation factor on them so they don't pop the balloon that all these nice remarks about me set up, I would be very, very grateful. And I guess, I don't know if we have a microphone, but you'll have to...
Any questions on this topic? On this topic.
Okay, well, I think we said it all. Great. Any other topic? She's a constitutional officer in her own right. She has a perfect right to do whatever, including running for the office itself. We've had a good relationship. I expect we'll continue to have a good relationship. And she was gracious to call me this morning. I appreciate that. But
so does it matter, Governor, that the reasons for becoming lieutenant governor may be political? Not
this is an election year. Everything's political. I set this in motion when I appointed Tina Smith senator, which is one of the best decisions I've made in my 8 years, and that put then Senator Fishback as president. So she, following the dictates of the Constitution and the like, I don't know whether she had a conversation with Governor Plenty before that or whatever, but that's really not relevant. The fact that she's followed the procedures exactly, and she has a perfect right to run for another office, or for the same one.
You left the door ajar just a little bit for possible lame duck session. How certain are you? Are you 100% certain?
That's the last bill I'm going to sign as governor of Minnesota. Last one.
On the pension issue, do you think you struck the right balance between public contributions to this and the workers having to contribute money themselves? Some view it as somewhat of a bailout by the state. But do you think there's a proper balance there? That
I think the best balance we could achieve, the fact that everybody supported, everybody gave up something, everybody put in something more. You know, this was balanced a few years ago, and then the actuarial assumptions changed. People started living longer, which is great, and there are other factors. This was not managed over promises. It was not a function of mismanagement. It was a function of the actuaries changed their assumptions, and that changed the liabilities and the funding. So I think it was done well before. Minnesota's pensions, you can look at some of these other states just impossible deficits. You look at some of the private companies, impossible deficits. Minnesota should be proud of the way we've handled public pensions in this state throughout, and this continues with this accomplishment. Thank you all very much.